All right. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to have you all join us this afternoon. You are joining us for the webinar Reconnect with Living Your Best Life, and this is organized by CanFit Pro. We have lots to cover today, and so we'll just start with the fact that many of our lives went on pause during the pandemic. Social gathering restrictions, economic shutdowns all remained in place for far longer than we had all anticipated. That meant that activities and the coping strategies that we all once used and were accessible to us may not have worked anymore. It forced many of us to reimagine our lives, our careers, our priorities. Now, as the world has started to open up and we move into what we now call a new normal, some of us have forgotten the goals and dreams that we once had. And maybe we're in a place where we needed to switch gears and we're reevaluating what our goals are now. Let us know in the chat box, keep that chat box alive, what brings you to this webinar today. I am Amrita Srikumar, Manager of People and Culture at CanFit Pro, and I'll be your host for this webinar. Before we start, we're going to go quickly over a few housekeeping items. Your microphone has been automatically muted and only our panelists are on camera. Please use the chat box to share your ideas and connect. We love to engage with you and chat with you, so keep that chat box lit. Your closed captioning has also been enabled. To turn this off, you can select the CC, which is the closed captioning icon, and hide the subtitles. There will be time for your questions at the end, so please pop them in the chat through the course of this session, and we will make sure that we leave some time at the end to get through as many as we can. This webinar is also eligible for a quiz worth 1 CEC, so you will be notified via email when that quiz is ready to go. As many of you know, May 2nd to 8th is Mental Health Awareness Week. Every May for the last 71 years, Canadians in communities, schools, workplaces, and the House of Commons have rallied around Canadian Mental Health Association Mental Health Week. This year, the theme is empathy. Empathy is defined as the capacity we share as human beings to step into each other's shoes, to understand where we're all coming from and what we're feeling, to listen hard and refuse to judge. As we step into this session today, I invite you all to be intentional in practicing empathy in all our interactions, as a little goes a long way in building those meaningful relationships. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our amazing panelists. Lauren Opler is an adjunct professor of fitness and health promotion at Georgian College, owner of Lauren Opler Mobile Personal Training, and part of the CanFit Pro advisory panel. He is also a health and fitness writer. Welcome, Lauren. Bria Wanamaker is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, psychotherapist, host of the Better Bodies podcast, and owner of Bodies by B. She also works with adolescents and adults with mental health concerns. Very warm welcome, Bria. Julie Park is a well-being consultant, Walmart Canada and ULCA affiliated mindfulness educator. She works with organizations and individuals to make well-being accessible and inclusive to every individual she can inspire. Welcome, Julie. Susan Agrios is a fitness trainer and world medalist. Susan teaches mind fitness, which is mindfulness and fitness, meditation and yoga, inspiring people to practice kindness and lead healthier lives. She is the creator of Be Kind Mind Fitness Triathlons and Be Kind Mindfulness Challenges. Welcome, Susan, and thank you all for joining us today. Let's get into our very first question. The first one that we have is a question for Julie. Julie, the last few years have certainly resulted in increased feelings of anxiety, depression, isolation, relationship tensions, and more. As restrictions are being lifted, there has been pressure to make up for lost time, financial struggles, companies trying to stay afloat, and the uncertainty of how long anything will last. All this can contribute to burnout. Julie, you have a lot of experience and research with studying burnout, even prior to the pandemic. Can you share with us your experience with burnout over a decade ago and how you persevered?
Thank you, Marita. Thank you again for just even organizing this event. And I think about burnout, I have to say that it's really an opportunity to pay attention. About 15 years ago, I had my own burnout while working at a pharmaceutical company. And that opportunity really gave me the opportunity to really pause and stop what I was doing, but also was an opportunity to really get to know myself. And looking back, I think it was really an experience where I was forced to radically accept myself in the ways I was at that moment, meaning accepting my work in progress self and exercising physical body, but also my mind by focusing on what I can control and manage and grow, such as learning mindfulness through lifting weights. And by focusing on what is right in front of me and doing my best and repeating it, and if possible, having some fun, really did make a big difference for me. So I think, anybody who feels burned out or literally in the middle of the burnout, I think it's important to remember that progress happens from this moment of now. So instead of really chasing after an idea of who you want to be, where you want to get to, if you want to go there gradually and steadily, it's important to focus on the now by taking care of your body and your mind. Yeah.
Thank you. I so agree. I think we can all kind of get ahead of ourselves and worry about the future. And so slowing down and focusing on what's right in front of us and being present. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is for Bria. Bria, what can you tell us about the physiological representation of stress, anxiety, and depression?
Thank you. Well, this is a big one. I mean, it comes out physiologically when we're experiencing stress, anxiety, or depression. We all have those folks that are always having lower back pain or digestive issues, headaches, chronic migraines. There's so many different ways. And obviously, go see a doctor, if you have medical concerns, but there are those certain chronic conditions that just persist throughout the lifespan if we're not acknowledging our stress and our emotions. And so there's actually kind of a chain that plays into it where, we'll have a life stressor and then we'll have thoughts about the life stressor. Maybe it can even be something good or exciting, a move, a marriage, having a new child. So life stressor, and then we experience thoughts about that. Maybe it's, I can't handle this. This is a lot right now. Those thoughts lead to feelings about how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with the rest of the world. And then I think that it comes out physiologically if we haven't acknowledged, I've been through this life stressor, I'm having these thoughts, I'm having these feelings. If we just push it all to the wayside, it comes out in some other way because it's got to, right? So, we often just throw a Tylenol in there and hope that the headache goes away, or, take some Imodium if our stomach is upset. But instead of intervening at that physiological response, my philosophy is that we need to intervene at the life stressors stage. And it's so great that there's so many participants here, because I saw some people throwing in the chat, I feel lost right now. I want to learn about resiliency. I'm feeling stressed, disoriented. That's the life stressors stage. So before it progresses, this is the time to really dig in a little bit deeper.
Thank you for sharing that. I so agree. And I think many of us miss that connection between what's going on mentally and how that translates into our bodies. And like you said, we're just trying to treat our symptoms instead of focusing on maybe why some of those symptoms, even came up. So that absolutely, thank you for sharing that. Our next question, we'll pass it over to everyone. We'll start with Susan. A March 2022 Angus Reid study showed 60% of Canadians felt the pandemic caused a severe or significant disruption in their lives. As a result, some were left feeling stuck and unable to move forward. How can we begin this process of getting back to our best selves, regardless of disruptions and transitions that happen along the way? What are some ways to take action when we begin to feel emotionally overwhelmed in our bodies? Over to you, Susan. Susan, I think you're on mute.
Here we go. I'm unmuted. Is that better? Okay. So I like that this question has the word, it says, what are some ways we can take action? I think it's really important that we take action. Quite often what happens is we get caught up in reading another book or watching another program. I always like to liken things to, like, if you want to get fit, you can read about fitness, you can watch people getting fit, but in order to get the benefits, you have to take action. You have to do something. If you want to learn how to play tennis, you got to pick up a tennis racket and you got to start hitting the ball. So I like the fact that this question asks about taking action. I believe it's very important that you have a practice, you have a daily practice if you want to get results. I'm going to share some things that you can do, some quick things that you can do in your life just to kind of integrate into your life. And one of your most powerful tools that you have is your breath. Your breath is one of your most powerful tools. Your mind follows your breath. And the key to controlling your mind is controlling your breath. When we're anxious, when we're upset or angry, we tend to be a very shallow breath into the chest area, very constricted, and just simply getting the breath down into the belly and slowing down the breath is very, very calming. So I'm going to ask you guys just to put your feet flat on the floor. You can put one hand on your belly and then one hand on your heart center. And I'm just going to get you just to close your eyes so you can go a little bit inward and you're not distracted. I call this technique Give Me 5. You'll see why I call it Give Me 5. You're going to inhale through your nostrils for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to exhale through your nostrils for a count of 5 for 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale through the nostrils, belly gets bigger for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the nostrils, belly gets smaller for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 more rounds, inhaling through the nostrils for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling through the nostrils, belly glides back and gets smaller for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhaling through the nostrils for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling through the nostrils, belly gets smaller for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more, last round for inhale through the nostrils for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale all the air out through the nostrils for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then take a deep breath in. Hold and suspend the breath. While the breath is suspended, make sure everything's relaxed. Exhale it all out. Release your hands. Keep your eyes closed. I'd like you just to check in to see any changes in your body, just any changes in your mind. And then just first word that comes to mind, just as to how you're feeling, just an emotion as to how you're feeling. And then just open up your eyes. So that's a quick technique that can be done anywhere, anytime. So if you're feeling a little bit stressed out, if you're feeling like anxious, or if you're about to do a presentation or something, just tell yourself, say, give me 5. If you're in a room of people, you're obviously not going to, about to present in a bunch of people. You don't close your eyes and go like this. You're going to be going, what is she doing? You can just keep your eyes open, and you can just, while you're looking at the people you're about to speak with, you can just make sure, just check in, where's my breath? Is it up in the chest, or is it in my belly? Just simply getting it into the belly and slowing it down is dramatically calming. So that's one technique I wanted to share with you. There's another technique. I'm going to be speaking a little bit longer on this, so I don't want you guys to be concerned about taking up all the time. It'll be shorter on my other ones. Another technique that I wanted to show you was is I created what's called mind fitness. I've taken the word mindfulness and fitness to create mind fitness. And so what you do is, using movement and breath, you can connect your body and mind. And so I'm just going to show you a little exercise that you can do where you actually take your thumb like this, and then you curl like this. I also want to stress here while I'm online, I did this with a bunch of students, and I understand this is the signal. If you go like this, means you're in distress. I'm not in distress when you go like this. And so I had all these poor students going to the principal and the teachers thinking I was in danger. So I'm not. So thumb like this, other 4 fingers covering over to make a fist. And you can do this standing up, or you can do it. I'm going to stand up for this. So I'm going to actually encourage you guys just to stand up for a second. And so you're going to stand up here. I'm just going to tilt my, my camera. And you're going to, when you inhale, you're going to move your arms back like this. And then you're going to exhale, put them overhead. So it's going to be a powerful breath. You're going to inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, eyes closed, inhale, exhale, inhale, powerful breath, exhale, inhale, exhale 2 more times, inhale, exhale 1 more time, inhale, exhale, inhale. Now, the second part, inhale, exhale across. Doesn't matter which arm goes on top, but the inhale still comes back like this. The exhale comes across. Inhale, exhale, inhale, little powerful breath, exhale a little faster, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale 1 more time, inhale, exhale. Now we're going to put these 2 exercises together. Watch what's going to happen. We're going to inhale back, exhale overhead, inhale back, exhale across, inhale back, exhale overhead, inhale back, exhale across. Follow along, inhale, exhale overhead, inhale back, exhale across, a little faster, inhale, exhale overhead, inhale, exhale across, inhale back, exhale overhead, a little faster, inhale, across, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now inhale the arms up, exhale them down, and just stay still, eyes closed. And I want you to just check in for a moment. Note any changes in your body, note any changes in your mind, and first word that comes to mind as to how you're feeling, has it changed? And then slowly open up your eyes. Okay, so 2 quick techniques to do 2 very different things. One is going to be more calming. The other is movement and breath. It's going to be a little bit more of a kind of a wake up. Okay, so those can be done. So that's what I wanted to share with you, because I do believe you need to take action. There's got to be a practice, and you've got to do something in order to get the benefits. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I was wondering what Mind Fitness was about, and you just showed us. It was very cool. I think the first word that came in my mind was calm, and then the second exercise, I felt energy. So thank you.
Perfect. And that's just with movement and breath, so you can do some really amazing things.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
Lauren, would you like to weigh in on this question? Just how we begin this process of connecting with ourselves and managing our emotions. Oops, mute again, Lauren. Oh, Lauren, you're on mute. There we go.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Amrita, and welcome everybody. There's 2 ways that I think that we can connect with our emotions. One is more physiological, and the other one is more emotional or psychological. So physiologically, we can connect to our emotions through what we eat. So through our nutrition plays, sometimes we don't think about it, but our nutrition plays as much a role in our mental health as does our physical activity. So we all know that physical activity improves mental health, right? That's, I mean, the research is so clear on that. And we all know how we feel, right? After we go for a run or a swim or on the bike or on the treadmill, in the weight room, or doing Pilates or yoga, we always feel that sense of feeling calm, relaxed, refreshed after we work out. But what we don't appreciate enough, and where people are not paying enough attention in terms of mental health, is how the foods that we eat can impact upon our ability to connect emotionally with ourselves. And there are a lot of foods out there which have been shown to be anti-stress foods, which have shown to boost mood. Some of you may have heard of the amino acid tryptophan. Tryptophan is in so many foods. And why is tryptophan important? Tryptophan is a building block for a neurotransmitter called serotonin. And many of us have heard that serotonin is that feel-good neurotransmitter that relaxes us, that elevates our mood. Serotonin is also the basis for almost all of the antidepressant medications that are on the market today. But we don't need medication to get serotonin. We can convert tryptophan into serotonin in our brains. So foods, for example, like turkey, sweet potatoes, seeds, beans, seafood, cottage cheese, tahini, hummus, all of these foods, which are all really good for you, are also high in tryptophan, which when consumed get converted to serotonin to help you feel better, to help you connect emotionally to yourself. So that's the physiological aspect. Sorry. Then there is the emotional, psychological, or sociological aspect, and that is through connecting with people. So studies have shown that how do you maximize your longevity? So eating healthy is really good, exercising is really good, not smoking is really good, not being sedentary is really good, but the research has shown that amongst all of the things that are the best predictors for a long and healthy life, it's social connection. Better than eating healthy, better than exercising, better than meditating. All of those are good, but none of them compare to connecting with other people to enhance and improve one's longevity in a healthy way. And why is that? It's like, because, so what happens when we are lonely? Look at all of us, we've lived through 2 years plus of isolation. I know for me, it has had a huge impact on my mental health. There's no question it's impacted me because I live alone and I've had to deal with the reality of loneliness. And many of us have also, whether we're in families or couples, we've all had to isolate to some degree for the last 2 years. What happens when we're isolated and when we're lonely? We trigger the release of cortisol in our body. Okay, and what is cortisol? Cortisol, unlike serotonin, which is that feel-good neurotransmitter, cortisol is that stress hormone, right? We do need some cortisol in our bodies, but when we are alone to the degree that many of us have been for the last 2 years, our levels of cortisol stay high. And when we have excessively high levels of cortisol, when we are stressed, like we've been living through in the last couple of years, what that triggers is inflammation, reduction in our immune health, and that can lead to all kinds of problems, from weight gain to digestive system illnesses, to headaches, sleep disorders, all kinds of things like that. What is the antidote to reduce the level of cortisol and stress? The best antidote? Connecting with other people. So those are the two areas that I would focus on to connect with ourselves emotionally: how we eat and how we connect.
Thank you, Lauren. I think I have my dinner figured out today. Trying to get those tryptophans in and mingling with people. Absolutely. I think that's what we've been missing over the last 2 years. And I hope everyone is making those connections, reaching out to your friends and family, and, just going out and spending some time socially. We are social beings after all. And I think that's what we've been missing. No, there's no wonder that the mental health crisis has risen over the last couple of years. So absolutely, there's definitely a connection between the two. Let's go over next to Priya. Priya, would you like to weigh in on this question?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of emotional overwhelm and coming out of this whole entire pandemic, I agree with that entirely, just about needing that connection. And I think too, something that we need to do, like I was speaking to before, is taking inventory of how you're feeling emotionally. I'm so big on emotion, so it's just going to be repetitive here, but it's so important because we just ignore it, because we're so good at adapting and changing. And so what I have done personally, and I get clients to do this as well, is take inventory of everything you've been through over the last little while. This is an exercise I've actually done like twice with myself in the past maybe 8 months. And so you write down a list of every single month that's happened in the past however long. So this is a great way to deal with emotional overwhelm coming out of the pandemic. You can start whenever you want to start. Maybe you're starting in like, I don't know, June 2021, and you'd write every single month bullet point list, and beside it, write down things that have been big life events, stressors, exciting things, whatever it is, and just acknowledging all that you've been through. And knowing that throughout that time as well, you've also been dealing with a pandemic, which, I mean, some people say, oh, it hasn't affected me, or, oh, I've adjusted, but it has. It has changed a lot of things. And as Lauren was mentioning, and I see in the chat too, everyone's like, yes, mingling, it's great. We need to get back out there, and we do, and it's scary. And we still don't know what the proper, protocols or rules are for meeting with certain people, or different people's comfort levels, or just what's going on with their immune system and their health. So we really have adopted this new level of cautiousness, is the word I was looking for. So I think it's really important to hold that, create this list of everything that you have gone through, and you can really look back and see. I think it's a Steve Jobs quote, and it's, you can only connect the dots looking backward. And it's so true. We don't see what we're going through when we're in it, but you look back and you say, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. So really acknowledging what you've been through, where you've come from, will help you to get where you're going as we come into this new normal time.
I love that, taking stock of emotions and journaling. Over to you, Julie. What are some of your thoughts on just reconnecting and managing our emotions?
I want to echo what Bria has said, and also sort of, like practice the strategies that Lauren and Susan has mentioned. I think it's really important to acknowledge that feeling stuck is a normal human experience, yet we make it such an abnormal experience. So there's a lot of stigma about feeling stuck. So first is really acknowledging it by using the strategy that, Bria was mentioning, maybe making a list and taking the time to really look back where I have, struggled and what was difficult for me. And then the other thing is really acknowledging that getting stuck emotionally is because we're overwhelmed with the feeling of discomfort and maybe uncertainty, and perhaps even a difficulty we face. But it's not a personal inadequacy. And that's where we have to really see things clearly. Often when we feel stuck, we personalize it as if this is the only, this is the thing that I am the only one who's experienced. But in fact, it is not. And that's why Lauren is talking about how important it is to have an enriched social well-being. When you are able to recognize that your difficulty, the emotions that you struggle with, is not you, but it's normal human experience, that's when you can do all the other activities and apply strategies that's going to sustain you in the long run. If you rush to work on things and say, okay, this is going to fix me and this is it, and I'm going to go hard, 100%, probably it's not going to go very far. So I want everyone to think that it's important to take the time to get to know yourself as you help yourself in a difficult time. Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. All right, well, over to our next question, which is open to the whole panel. According to the Urban Dictionary, living your best life is defined as living under the conditions you consider to be ideal for you, or that you're at least satisfied with your progress towards meeting said conditions. It does not imply that anyone living their best life is free of stress or any emotional turmoil, since that's a part of everyone's life, regardless of living conditions. What does living your best life mean to you, and how do we reconnect with ourselves to discover where to go from here? We'll start with Bria.
Fantastic. I love this question. And I think the importance of it is that living your best life is different to every single person. And it's really challenging because we have these buckets of, if you work too hard, you're a workaholic. If you don't work enough, you're a lazy bum or whatever it is. But there are some people who they're living their best life is working a lot, or some people who living their best life isn't doing too much. So it's really important to, again, take inventory on what's important to you. And through another journaling exercise I personally use and use with my clients is listing out your values. This is such a neat way to connect with yourself. And so like personally, I value laughter and connection and just being present in the moment, and also, you know, finding a purpose and a passion to work toward. So you can list all these things out. It's extremely important that you get to know yourself that way, because then you can set boundaries in your life to, you know, job offers maybe that you need to say no to because they don't suit your values, or people who come into your life that you want to connect with or not connect with based on your own values. So that is number one. And then I think, just like Susan was saying, having some sort of practice that grounds you. So for me, that looks like a stillness practice at some point every single day, taking a few deep breaths as much as you can, because the world is chaos right now. I mean, just look at the cost of gas. But so stillness practice in some way, evaluating your thoughts always. They might be great. You might not have much going through your mind, or it might be cloudy. So just acknowledge what thoughts you're having. My third one is taking different action. It's okay. I saw a couple people in the chat say, I feel stuck. I don't feel inspired. I don't feel motivated. Try something different in your routine. It could be the smallest thing, like grabbing coffee with a friend, walking at a different trail than you're used to. Our brains are neuroplastic, so they get hardwired in the same routines, but we have the ability to change. So try something new into your routine. And the last practice that I would add is gentle movement, of course, because when we move, we feel inspired, we feel connected, we feel grounded, and it honestly moves everything through your body when you do that.
Perfect. Let's go over to Susan.
Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about what does living your best life mean, and just reiterate what's sort of being said today. Again, it's going to vary from person to person. What may be the best life for me may be much different than what your best life looks like for you. And I think one of the key things is to figure out what makes you happy. So just really simply put, if you can figure out what makes you happy, maybe make a list of things that make you happy and just do those more often, and then make a list of things that don't make you happy, and then try to avoid those if you can. There's certain things, obviously, you can't just sort of go, I'm just going to quit my job and not do anything, go hang out on a beach and stuff like that. But within the parameters of your life, you kind of look at what can I do more of that will bring happiness, and what can I do less of that's no longer serving its purpose. I believe that it's really important to sit still. And I really think and that's where meditation comes in. I don't think we get enough of that. I think in North America in particular, we spend a lot of time, we're multitasking. We get caught up in doing so many different things, pulled in many different directions, and it creates a disconnect in our lives. And I really think it's important that you take time to be still, you take time to be quiet. And it can be very uncomfortable sitting still and being quiet. And I think, you know, again, I go back to your breath as one of your most powerful tools. And when you have emotions, like, you know, we can call emotions, some people will say there's negative emotions, positive emotions. And then some people say, well, there isn't really negative and positive emotions. Emotions are just emotions, and there's just energy that needs to move. And I believe that we can move that energy through using our breath. Okay. We can also move the energy through movement. So that might be going for a walk in nature. It might be gardening. It might be doing some hardcore intense cycling, some stairs. I mean, you know, lifting weights, you know, mind fitness. That's why I created the mind fitness, because it's movement and breath. But I really believe, as I said, I'm talking two opposite extremes. One is actually not moving and staying still and just listening to what is coming to you. And then the other one is actually doing the opposite and moving and breathing. And both of those have their place. And again, I go back to that it's really important that this becomes a practice. I think it's a great way to start off your day that way, with some breathing, or end the day, and just to check in, you know, throughout the day. But there's got to be an ongoing practice. So I hope that's helpful.
certainly helpful. I feel like we keep forgetting that breathing is just a tool that we have that's always accessible to us. And I think it's one of those things that is easy, but we keep forgetting that it's there, always accessible to us. Okay, we will go over to Julie.
I think part of me have a little hard time sort of understand, like, I guess framing it as best life, a best life, because I think that it's important to understand and clarify what best life means to you. As an individual with your lived experience, your values and dreams, not just having this, like an idea, oh, I want to live a best life and I want to have a lot of money, I want to be successful, but what does that really mean, right? So clarity on what is important to you will not only help you define what's best life to you, but it'll become sort of that inner drive to propel you to keep going, even when things are not working out well in some moments. And for me, best life really means living with authenticity, like, allowing myself to be imperfect. I'm not great at everything, and sometimes I make mistakes. And in fact, when I'm really, content with myself, even the parts that I really don't like, I'm allowing myself to accept that, yeah, some things are not great. But remembering that all things change. So I keep going. I keep working on it. And then, you know what? You will get there somehow. Whatever that best life you might imagine it to be, you will get there. But the process of now in this moment is really the best life. Because when you think back about your best life, moments of best life in your life, previous to pandemic, probably those moments when you were in it, you didn't think it was best life. Yes? Yeah. So start with where you are. Yeah.
Absolutely agree. I think I read a quote recently, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but it said, confidence is knowing your flaws and accepting it and loving yourself despite it. So, I think it goes back to a lot of what you were sharing, Julie. All right, over to you, Lon. What is living your best life mean to you, and how do we reconnect with ourselves?
So thanks for asking. So I'm going to connect both of them because I think, and I know that I'm repeating myself here, but that's because I'm such a strong believer and advocate for this. But I think that living one's best life means connecting with other people. And that's how we reconnect with ourselves, through connecting with other people to live whatever and however we define our best life. And the reason I say that is this. Julie made a really good point about how it's natural and normal for all of us at some point in our life to be stuck once, twice, maybe lots and lots of times. And that's normal and that's okay. But if we don't open up to people and if we don't connect to people, we don't think it's okay because we think that, oh, I'm the only one who feels like this. But when we connect with other people and we can say, hey, listen, I'm not feeling great today. I'm kind of feeling stuck. When you open up to somebody and you connect with them, you're automatically and immediately creating a connection that can relieve that sense of, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go, because now you're opening up and sharing with somebody. And that is the first way to help you get unstuck, by opening up, by connecting with others to reconnect with yourself.
Okay. And I just want to say it's connection, because we will go over to that question shortly when we open our live Q&A, but connection can be in all forms. If you have a little bit of social anxiety right now after the pandemic, you can connect over the phone, you can connect through Zoom. We have a lot of different tools to connect to. So, I hope everyone understands that connection is just sharing and conversing and opening up, like Lauren said. So just want to throw that in there. Our last and final question for the panel is, in conclusion, what are the top 3 strategies or takeaways that you recommend for living your best life? We shall start with you, Ron.
Sorry, me? Did you say me? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm going to go back and I'm going to reiterate it. The three best things are one, connecting with people, creating a community. And you know, when I say a community, you might be thinking, well, that's pretty broad. Where am I supposed to go for a community? Well, how about right here? Because we literally, I'm not being silly when I say this. We're a community right here. We're a community of about 100 people online, and how many other more people who are going to be listening to this webinar on their own time? We are a community. So reach out to us. Like, I'm serious. If anybody, we are a community right here. We are a community of people who care, who understand, who know what it feels like to be isolated, to know how to use our God-given talents to be better. So if you don't know, come to us. We are here as a community. That's my first thing. My second thing is this: be brave. Be brave. Open up to somebody. Don't be scared to say, like Julie was saying. Don't be afraid to say, I'm stuck. Don't be afraid to say to somebody, I'm having a crappy day, and I feel lousy. We're so, you know, in our culture, especially in the age of social media, where everybody puts these beautiful pictures of themselves against beautiful backgrounds, eating beautiful food, having a great time. When we're alone and stuck inside for 2 years and everybody seems on social media to be having a fantastic life, it's like, holy crap, I feel lousy about myself. But that's because we're isolated. And then when you reach out to somebody and you go, I don't feel so good, you may be surprised that that person you reach out to will go, me too. I feel like that too. And that's how movements get started. That's how connections get started. So that's why I say, be brave. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. You know, I'm just going to say really, really quickly. I'm a guy, and I'll tell you, it's hard for guys. It's much harder for guys. It's way harder for guys to reach out. And I think I'm myself as a pretty evolved guy, but I still find it really hard to tell somebody I'm not doing good. But I did that 2 weeks ago because I was in a really bad point 2 weeks ago. And I reached out and I said, I'm not doing too good. And you know what? To my surprise, people weren't like, oh, that's really too bad. People were like, you know, I get it. I know where you're coming from. And so that's why I'm saying, be brave. Don't be scared to reach out to somebody for help if you need it, because other people are in the same situation. We've all been through this together these last 2 years. Everybody gets it. And the third thing is this. I saw a comment in the chat, which really struck home for me. Somebody said, I think it was the woman from Saskatoon. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I love Saskatoon. I really do. I love it, and I really want to visit Saskatoon. I've never met friendlier people than Saskatchewanians. But what I was going to say is this, because you made that really good point. Resilience, develop resiliency. Learn how to become resilient. And you can say, well, how do I learn how to become resilient? You know how? Through those two things that I just mentioned. Be brave, reach out, and connect with people. That's how you get resiliency, because then you have a community around you to support you. So those are my 3 takeaway messages. Sorry.
Amazing. Thank you, Ron. I want to read out, someone put in the chat, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's being afraid and taking action anyway. So it was a nice little thought there that I wanted to throw out to the group. Next, we'll move on to Susan.
Okay, so I agree with everything that with what Lauren said, but I'm going to add some new stuff on top of there, and I'm going to be repeating myself. But the 3 things that I focus on is, again, I go back to figuring out what makes you happy and doing more of it. I know that sounds like, oh my God, yeah, of course. But you know what? You'll be surprised if you look at what you do in your daily life. You'll go, why am I doing all these things that don't make me happy? You'll be amazed if you do this exercise. And then if you make a list of all the things that make you happy and you go, well, why aren't I doing any of those things? I haven't done those things for weeks. So that's number one, is to figure out what makes you happy. So it may be different for me, maybe going out to nature, maybe cooking for a person, it may be hiking, it may be gardening, it may be going on a little outing on a trip or a visit with a friend or something like that. So being clear on what works for you, what makes you happy, and increasing that in your life. Number two is mind fitness, or just some sort of movement, some sort of breath. Again, I go back to when you're stuck, it's energy that just wants to move. Get out of your head. We get into our heads, we start analyzing things. And it's like, quite often it's like, if I'm upset about something, I can go and I can talk to somebody about it. And the next thing I know is I'll give you an example. Let's say I get cut off in traffic or something like that. And I get on the phone and I talk to somebody when I get home and I go, oh my God, the drivers in Edmonton are just brutal. They cut me off and I can't believe this guy did this. And the next thing I know, the person goes, oh yeah, you should have seen what happened to me this morning. They did this. And then I'm on the phone with somebody else. And before you know it, this big pity party starts and we're all talking about all this negative stuff that's going on. And so, as I said, instead of focusing on those things, on this negativity, letting it get, at us, instead of doing that, it's like by moving and breathing, we can move that energy. We can let those things go. Tell yourself a story. If somebody does something and cuts you off, go, you know what? Who knows? Maybe they're on the way to the hospital. They got a call. A loved one is like, on life support. They're racing to get there. Make up something so you don't get caught up into that negativity. And again, be mindful of what you say. Be mindful of what you say. If you start talking negative stuff, it starts to affect you on a physical basis. It changes how you actually feel. Okay, so be really mindful of that. So one, figure out what makes you happy, do more of it. Two, movement and breath, or what I call mind fitness. And three is meditation, going to that place of stillness, having that practice, using your breath. You can use your breath to energize you. You can use your breath to calm yourself down. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, there's many different things. There's a technique, if I had more time, that I would share with you that I learned in India. I went about 7 or 8 times to India to study with some of the world's greatest yoga masters, swamis, and gurus. And so there's a technique, it's called Yoga Nidra or Yoga Nidra, and it's a guided meditation. If I had time, I would take you guys through a guided meditation. But when we do the global CanFit Pro in August, I will be doing a 75-minute session with Yoga Nidra. And the beauty about it is you don't have to do anything. All you need to do is lie there, grab your pillow, grab your blankets, and you can just chill. Okay. But I wish I had time for you guys to experience it, but there will be time at another point. So anyways, I hope that's useful for you guys, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you. I definitely want to catch a Yoga Nidra session at the Global. So I'm looking forward to that. Susan.
Wonderful.
All right, Julie, we'll move to you next.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Such great, tools shared here. I think for me, what I want to highlight is practicing humility and lots of compassion to yourself. When you think about a really good athlete, they know how to use strength, and they exercise to be strong and powerful, but they also maintain flexibility. You need to have both in order to really go far and be able to stay resilient. Resiliency is not about being tough all the time, whatever happens. It's being able to fall down sometimes, but also being able to get up and maybe even stay halfway and still maintain that resiliency. And then, I want to echo what everyone has shared here. Do what makes you really feel good without trying to reinvent the wheel or trying to take another certification course, right? Yeah, you don't have to learn new things all the time. You already know what makes you feel very good. So do things that keeps you grounded. That could be exercise, meditation, or social well-being. Sorry. The last thing is, I feel like we're really drilling down on mindfulness, but I have to say mindfulness is something I really, really hope that all fitness professionals will learn and practice. Mindfulness is not a special skill. It's something you already have and you can cultivate more. For example, right now you're paying attention to my voice with your intention, right? That is mindfulness. So in other words, being mindful about your stuck moment is knowing that you're stuck and seeing how you can help yourself with curiosity. So mindfulness and the meditation, all these things, is not to be a better version of yourself, but meeting yourself where you are. So I highly encourage you to look into practice of mindfulness and perhaps even visit one of my workshops. And I think I'm teaching on Friday, August 12th at the convention, the Campit Pro convention. So hopefully I'll meet you there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. All right, and that was the last of our questions. As promised, we did want to move over to our live Q&A, and so we do have some questions in the chat box that I will soon address. But thank you so much to all of the panelists. This has been very inspiring and insightful. So the first question that we have through the chat box is for Bria. What advice do we have for people dealing with social anxiety after the pandemic? People are just feeling that after 2 years of being told that physical closeness to people is dangerous, it's just hard to snap out of it and come back to socializing.
Yeah, I think that's really challenging because, well, there's two different things at play there. One, there's a very real safety and risk harm, so I think taking all the necessary precautions, if it's a health anxiety concern, if you're concerned for your own health or the health of the people around you, taking all the necessary precautions, and then accepting on an internal level, I'm doing the best that I can. And so that will, one, allow you to progress back into society. And then I think on an anxiety, mental health, emotional level, first of all, reaching out to people, talking to a therapist if you can, if you have the funds for that, any type of self-help apps are great for monitoring that just level of anxiety. And I suggest apps and different self-help books because they are more likely like a free resource. Like this, you're attending this is fantastic as a free resource to have this, but also just, I think even journaling out why it's important for you, like the pros and cons list of, what will I gain from overcoming this piece of anxiety. And then tools like the breath work and movement that Susan was talking about can be so useful when you're going to put yourself in the actual social situation to be able to take a moment and turn inward to really release that physiological response. There's also another skill that I have. It's called TIP skills, TIPP. And you can use it to calm your body before you go into a social situation. So taking a cold shower, our body has a mammalian dive response. So we actually calm down and brings your heart rate down, the whole shebang. So that's temperature, intense exercise. So maybe just like a short burst, go for a run around the block, lift some weights, 5 minutes tops, get that energy moving so you have somewhere to put it. This first P is paced breathing, and the last P is paired muscle relaxation. So tensing everything up as you breathe in, relaxing everything as you breathe out. You can look that up more online for more details on the TIP skills. It's part of dialectical behavior therapy, but those are just ways you can regulate internally before bringing yourself out into the world.
Really great tips. Thanks, Bria. We have another question, maybe for Julie. As a PTS, like personal training specialist, how do I manage a client who has taken up personal training sessions to deal more with social connectivity rather than anything to do with fitness?
Thank you for asking that question. I really appreciate it because, in fact, I think a lot of people take personal training or some sort of wellness coaching because they ultimately want to connect And through that connection, they want to find happiness. And a lot of people walk into the gym because of that. But when you look around, where everybody's so focused on their workout, there's not a lot of connection, right? So going back to the personal training, I think this is an opportunity for trainers to really realize that their role as a personal trainer is not just to have a encyclopedia of exercises and count reps and fix techniques. It's about connection. And also, it's a practice for you to meet where they are. Our fitness professionals, and I'm not training clients anymore, but when I used to train clients in the beginning of my career, it was really hard for me to meet my clients where they are. Meaning, I had a plan, I had a periodization, I had a program laid out for them, but then they show up late. I'm pissed off inside, right? And then I have to somehow give them something to make sure that for me to feel that I have given them the value they paid for. But in fact, what I was missing is to find that meeting them where they are and giving them an opportunity to take ownership of their own well-being. So I think when it comes to facilitating personal training sessions with people who may have a slightly different goal while doing fitness, I want you to see if you can have a dialogue about what is really going to keep them motivated, right? And then use your tools to combine it and integrate a wellness program. So it's not just about moving the body and growing the body or shrinking the body, but it's really enhancing someone's life through connection and building relationship. And through that process, you build trust. And that's how you encourage someone to have a healthy lifestyle. So I think that the main thing I want to say is meet them where they are, reassess what your goal is for this client, and think, is this what my client really needs? Is this about me or for my client? How am I going to bring it back and find where my client's at while I deliver something that could benefit my client as a fitness professional? So it's a lot of self-reflection. Yeah. Mindfulness.
Awesome. I think we have time for maybe one more question very quickly. Lauren, this is for you. How do we heal relationships that have been broken during the pandemic? And how do we make peace with relationships that have been broken if they seem unrepairable? Lauren, you're on mute.
Could you repeat that, Amrita, please? No, you're getting back at me there.
How do we heal relationships that have been broken during the pandemic? And especially if some seem unrepairable.
It's a great question. It's a really great question. So thank you for that question. And thank you for sharing that with me, Amrita. So yeah, this is a perfect example of what the pandemic has done, how it's changed the way we relate to each other, because we've all had to go through our own metamorphoses. For some of us, it brought out things that we don't like about ourselves in terms of the way we relate to other people. It's changed the nature of our personalities to some degree, and therefore changed the nature of our relationships. So I think that if you find that there has been a relationship that has been broken because of COVID or because of the pandemic, because of circumstances related to it, if you've done whatever you can to try and heal it without success, the hardest thing, although the right thing, in my opinion, is to say, I did my best and it's time to move on. If you can honestly and openly look at yourself and say, I've done what I could do and there's nothing else that I could do, then I think at the very least, that you've done everything that is within your power to change and to heal it. And then it becomes the other person's issue. And the hardest thing is we take on other people's issues to ourselves, right? And so we often find ourselves we think that we're the ones at fault for ruining a relationship. But if we do everything that we can, and we can honestly say to ourselves, did everything I can, what can I do? Then it's time to just say, you know what? Be good to yourself, pamper yourself, be kind to yourself. Julie said that, Susan said that, Bria said that. Be kind to yourself and just say, you know what? I can't do anymore. Not always the easiest thing. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but if you know that you've done everything you can, then you have every right to say, I did the right thing, and it's time for me to be kind to myself, like everybody else here has been saying. That helps.
I love that. I love finishing on that note. Be kind to ourselves. So, all right, this is a wrap. We have come to time. Thank you, Bria, Lauren, Julie, and Susan for such an amazing session. You have provided us with little nuggets of information and tips and tricks I'm sure we can all take back. And I think a lot of them are easily accessible to us. So thank you for sharing that. Each of these amazing panelists are presenting at the Canfor Pro 2022 Global Conference and Trade Show, which is between August 10th to 14th, 2022. Registration is now open and we'd love to see you all there. Don't forget to help us plan for future events by completing a short survey about your experience in this session. You will find the link in the chat. And again, thank you all for being here today and spending your afternoon with us. Thank you for being a part of the Canfor Pro community and engaging with us in this very important conversation. We appreciate you and have so much love for you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
See ya.